But what we're going to do is we're going to go through that today, showing everybody how to access Rank Fortress Academy, where the materials are going to be uploaded. The materials are going to be uploaded on a daily basis. They're going to be spreadsheets. They're going to be cheat sheets. They're going to be checkoff lists. Basically, a little bit of everything that I use. I want this basically, it's not going to be an quote unquote advanced. It can be anybody that doesn't know anything about SEO. It can be stuff about, people that know a little bit about SEO. It'll be a little bit about everything. So I will be covering some. I've had a couple of people ask, are you going to be covering click-through rate manipulation? Yes, I'll be covering a little bit of it, but not that in depth. We'll be starting that mainly later on in another class. But really, I just want to take everybody through the process because a lot of people ask about the book and they have questions. And I want to be able to take them, okay, if I start with a website, what's the very first thing I do? And then all the way to, let's say, month 3, getting them ranked and starting to see some traction coming in and just explaining my whole thought process and everything. So that's where we're going to be heading today. And then tomorrow will be officially our first, if you will, class where we're going to look at the client's website. One of these clients' websites was one of the people that actually won the free SEO for 3 months. So, and he's actually another agency. Let's see here. If you ever have any questions during this meeting, just feel free to either, honestly raise your hand and then I'll go ahead and ask your question and answer it. It's going to be very raw and just, it's not going to, it's an open format pretty much, If you have a question, just stop me and then we'll go from there. I will be sharing my screen a lot, but after the meeting, it'll probably be a good hour or so, and then I'll upload the video and upload any of the materials. There are a lot of materials that are already actually there as far as the ebook, the checkoff list, and some spreadsheets. So, but I will be back. Give me about 5 minutes and we'll start. I'll talk a little bit.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Nice to meet you, Kim.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Hey, everybody. Oh, sorry.
I'm Mike from South Carolina.
Hey, Mike.
Houston. Andy from Michigan.
Michigan.
Jennifer in Tampa, Clearwater, Florida.
Awesome. Not too far from me. I was born and raised down in Jacksonville.
Okay, yeah.
Northeast Florida boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis from Chicago, where it's snowing.
Nah. I've lived in West Virginia before. So last place I lived before I moved to the Philippines was actually West Virginia. So
Hey, it's Bob from Chicago suburbs. Snowing out here too.
nice to meet you, Bob.
What's up, William? Anthony Brooks from San Juan Capistrano near the beach in Orange County.
Okay.
Hey guys, hey. Oh, go ahead.
It's Wayne from Boston.
It's okay, one at a time.
Okay, I'll try. It's Wayne from Boston.
Nice to meet you, Wayne.
It's Javed from Milton, Ontario.
Milton.
It's Brandon from Denver, Colorado.
It's definitely snowing in there, right?
It will be tonight, yes.
Hey, it's
John from Florida.
Nice to meet you.
Paul from North Bay, Ontario, Canada.
Canada.
Bryce from Arizona.
Hey, Bryce.
Hey, William.
Crazy from South Africa. It's 3 a.m. here.
South Africa. Wow.
Wow, yeah. Dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
From Florida.
John from Ontario, Canada. Niagara Falls.
Nice to meet you.
Ruben from Panama.
Hey everyone, I'm
Virginia.
Tricia. I'm Tricia from Atlanta.
Nice to meet you, Trisha.
Here we go.
Hi, this is Dave Doyle. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Oh, sorry, California. Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Who's the fella from Capistrano?
Anthony Brooks.
Hi, Anthony. Glad to know you.
Hey, nice to know you as well.
I'm a plumber in LA.
You're a plumber in LA?
I need William's help in my plumbing business. It's a dogfight out here in LA, man.
Excellent.
Glad
All
to be
right.
here, guys. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you.
we are going to go ahead and get started. How many, just by, if you could, in the chat bot, let me know how many of y'all actually have any SEO experience at all whatsoever. Have you ever done SEO for yourself? Are you a beginner, intermediate, advanced? What experience do you have whatsoever? Yeah, Mike, it's actually pretty rare to find someone with 10 plus years experience. So that's nice to meet someone that actually does have some experience. And good team makes everything much better. All right, if y'all have a question or any time in this next hour or so, just unmute yourself and ask a question or raise your hand and we will go ahead and get started. So how many of y'all have actually went to Rank Fortress Academy and updated your password and actually went to the website to look at the program? Okay. Perfect. If you have been unable to get a password, just email me. This is my personal email address. I'm going to give everybody, if you don't have it, go ahead and email me at philmrush@gmail.com. If you do not have a password or actually your daily questions, any questions you may have, anything whatsoever, just email me there. If you do not have, once again, your password or need a reset, just let me know, or any help whatsoever. If you have not already done so, make sure you download the PDFs and the materials. They're going to be uploaded on a daily basis. Like I said, we're going to have spreadsheets. They're going to be uploaded there. We're going to have cheat sheets that are uploaded there. And we're also as well going to have my guide. The guide is really written for people that are laymen that don't have any experience whatsoever in SEO. Okay. I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about myself before we get started so we can, so you know a little bit about me, where I come from, my experience, and what got me into SEO. I got started back in about 20 years ago in SEO. I got started just purely doing web design. How I got started in this was I used to actually, believe it or not, be a bookkeeper. I was an accountant, and then what would happen is an accountant, a bookkeeper, get the books cleaned up, chief financial officer, all that jazz, and they'd lay you off. And this is back it it was a long time ago. Let me put it that way. And keep getting fired, keep getting laid off, all that jazz. And I got sick and tired of that. And I was like, I need to go back to school. So I went back to school. And I met my professor, Mr. John Downs, and went in there for graphic arts and did not have any intention whatsoever to get in web design. I just thought, hey, I love art. I was an AP art, student whenever I was in school. And I loved it. So I went to there and then they started teaching web design. So we started taking web design, got 3D animation, all that stuff. And I did that for a while. And then he said, we're going to teach web design. He taught web design. He said, you got to go get your own client. Got my own client. I made the most money out of everybody in there. While I was at school, I was making more money than my professor part-time while doing my school. So I started really loving it. I went through, during that time, I was in a, not really a great relationship. I was in my first marriage and then kind of rocky. So we wound up, I took a break from school, but while I was in my break in school, I started picking up more and more clients. And then he wanted me to come back to school. I said, really, you're going to cost me more money to go back to school than it is if I stay out of school. And so I just never went back to school. I picked up one of my first clients. I didn't know this at the time. He is a millionaire in real estate. He has real estate in Panama Republic, the US, all over the place. And then he introduced me to another guy. Didn't know he was a millionaire at the time either. And he owned a jewelry business, several locations, franchises, etc. And I built him a website. This is back before WordPress. So, I mean, we have it easy now. I'll put it that way. Much easier. I could literally have a website up in an hour. Back then it was, it was just a pain in the ass, really. Excuse my language. But so this same client, we got the website up. He loved it. Did another website for him. And then he goes, what do you know about SEO? Can you get me on page 1? And I said, I don't know. Well, how much does it pay? And he told me how much it paid. I said, well, yes, I know nothing about SEO, but I'd love to learn it. So from that point on, I self-taught myself. The guy paid me $2,000 at the time to get him on page 1. This is for an e-commerce website. Excuse me. And at that time, if anybody of y'all know, the difference is some people have heard the term, some people scared of the term, black hat SEO. When I got involved in SEO, I was involved in SEO before black hat was ever even called black hat. All I knew was back then was, hey, you needed 2,000 backlinks. I got them and you were on page 1. Then along comes the penguin and the panda and beats the holy shit out of everybody. Then you have to discover what is content, not only what is content, what is good content. Some of the black hat stuff is still works, but overall it's nowhere near the way it was. Back then it was, cloaking. You can still do backdoors and a bunch of other stuff. This is beyond most of y'all's heads, but this is what I got involved in. And then I just started taking on clients and I started loving it. The thing I love about SEO is mainly taking someone that has never been on page 1, nowhere near page 1 of their business, and helping find out what it needs to take place to get them to being on page 1. And then of course, seeing them happy. And I just love dominating the competition. Anybody got any questions so far? Let me see. Waiting for hosts to let me in. Nope, everybody should be in. Then fast forward, WordPress comes along, makes my life easier. And nowadays, the only thing, and most people don't understand why, but the only thing I use is WordPress. I will not touch a site that is not on WordPress. A lot of my sites, I have clients that come to me and then I'll honestly switch them from what they're on to WordPress. Why? Number one, I don't like Shopify. I don't like Wix. I don't like Weebly. I don't like any of these builders because they suck for SEO. And I have people tell me all the time they can get a Wix website ranked on page 1. And I tell them, well, you can drive a little shoe of a car, or, you know, a Toyota, or you can drive a BMW, or you can drive a Lamborghini. It just depends on what you want to do, how fast you want to get there, in my humble opinion. I prefer WordPress mainly because it makes it easier. SEO is a mountain to deal with. It's a mountain to climb to begin with. I'd rather have the easiest methods to get there, right? Gutenberg. I would love to see anything you have to say with Gutenberg. I actually only use Elementor, and I only use Elementor. Every one of our websites we make, honestly, is I'll show you my process in another segment, but basically I use Elementor because it makes it easier for everybody. And we use that theme builder and build out a website. We don't use, you know, themes per se, except the Astra theme, and then make it the way we want, lay it out the way we want it. And it just makes it it's less code and everything than buying a theme. Because as you know, if you have any experience, especially as an agency, themes are code heavy and they slow everything down, and they're terrible. In my opinion, they're terrible to deal with. But so nevertheless, fast forward a little bit, I started picking up some clients, got busy, went through a divorce, lost everything, got depressed, like most people do. Then I met my wonderful wife, who has brought me over here to the Philippines. During that time, prior to that, I started building my own, basis of clients and everything. And just give you all a little rundown. Prior to moving in the Philippines, I had several large clients. I've only ever dealt with, until recently, about 10 clients, 20 clients. And then right before I went in the Philippines, I had 2 clients, and I already bought my plane ticket. Say, I can't afford you. Well, I'm still going to the Philippines because I already have a house over here and everything. And got here and just planned on retiring, didn't plan on doing anything, just wanted to live life, have my 4 or 5 clients, and that's it. I pick on one client and he gets to know me. He's like, you got 20 years experience. Why don't you start an agency? And for those of you that run agencies, how many agency owners do we actually have on call? I know Bryce is an agency owner. I know Michael's an agency owner. Anybody else? Mike Anderson. So we got a handful of y'all. Okay, me and Paul. Michael, yes. If you're an agency owner and you want to know how to get clients, I may do another session or something in regards to that, because I can literally teach you how to get clients. If you don't know how to, or you're struggling, that's never been an issue for me. How many of your business owners? Just a straight, well, I mean, business owner, agency is obviously a business owner, but just I own one store. I'm a brick and mortar. Okay. Agency went full time 2 years ago. That's awesome, Trisha. Honestly, because of the fact that I've had a job, but before, but whenever I hear someone going, like in your case, Trisha, you went 2 years ago, you went full time. It's just awesome to me as someone that has done it themselves. I mean, I've worked for myself, out of the 20 years I've been doing SEO, I've worked for myself at least half of that. Awesome, Anthony. Yeah, you're about ready to get ready to scale at 20. Awesome. Okay, so started picking up, y'all know about COVID. Everybody knows about COVID. Start picking up clients. Guy says, hey, why don't you run your own agency? And I go, I don't want to. Agencies are honestly a pain in the butt to deal with. You know, I don't like employees. I don't like dealing with them for the most part. But luckily, the team I have, we're more like family over here. So right around COVID, started picking up a couple of clients. I don't know if any of y'all know of the guy named Blake Newbar. You know, Blake Newbar, ClickFunnels, he's a big guy. And basically what I started doing for myself and what works as an agency, but as you can tell, can get you in trouble like it did with me repetitively with Facebook, is I have a header on my Facebook page, usually is optimized as click here. Then I have some other stuff. And I just started posting, you know, content on my Facebook, and then I got involved in Google My Business Help Group. And then more and more I started posting, more and more I started picking up clients. Within 3 months, I jacked up to about 40 clients. Now I'm sitting at about 80 clients altogether. With a team of, we just brought on 2 more today, so a team of about 14. So to say, I know just a little bit about SEO, and besides SEO, I know a little bit about running a business, scaling a business. We're getting ready to start scaling. In my opinion, we're not scaling yet. Developing systems, all that stuff. So really, I mean, if you want to ask me anything about SEO, agency, clients, lead generation, all that stuff, you know, just let me know. Yeah, just let me know. Let me put this real quick. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's go ahead and open this up real quick. So this is, I'm going to go ahead and screen share with you guys. Showing y'all the back end of the website and everything for those of y'all that actually have not went there. This is the Academy. And on the Academy, when you get here, you're just going to go to log in to Rank Fortress Academy. All right. It's going to look like you haven't logged in, but you click see more. Then you're going to hit take this course. Most people think that they're not logged in, but you hit take this course. Once you hit take this course, you're going to log in. Once you log in, here's your courses, and you click on this. Once you click on this, you're going to hit start here. All right, and start here is going to have all your information. I want you to start here, and as you complete it, you'll mark it completed. Next lesson. So basically, you know, here's our group. I want you to join our group, make friends, ask questions, keep up with any SEO news, anything that I see that comes out, I always put it out. Learn new tricks, local SEO training, download the roadmap here. Then I also have an Excel sheet of all the tasks we'll be going over. Yeah, I give you all my personal information, my personal email, so you can go here. Once you do this, you mark it complete, then go to the next one, SEO terms, next steps, GMB SEO timeline. All of this stuff and all of our Excel sheets and everything will be over here on the left-hand side. Our videos, once we're done with the video, it will also be there as well. So that way you can see everything. Any questions so far? The GeoGrid's green. Wait 1 second, admit somebody in real quick. Any questions? Just let me know. No, we'll move on. Just lift your hand if you got questions so we can go ahead and move on otherwise. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to go to the next tidbit here. So let me go back to screen share. Share. All right, so if you click on this right here, it's going to open up our group. This is the GMB group. This is where you're going to see me 900% of the time usually. I have my own group as well, but this is generally going to be the free help group. You're going to get a lot of really good information. Sheen's the owner of this group. David's another good guy. He's over in the UK. Then you're going to have Jeff. He's in here as well. He's a good guy. You got Shranth. He's a contributor and moderator. Andrew's a moderator, but you got a bunch of really good information in here. Especially David's been dropping some real good stuff in there lately. If you have questions, it's a really good place to learn as well. So, but that's the group. You go in there, make friends, ask questions, keep up with SEO news. Then you got this right here. Download and read the local SEO secrets roadmap. If you click on this, you're going to be able to download the actual book. This is an 80-something page, almost 90-page book. It goes through it step by step by step by step of everything you're going to need as far as GMB. Will it talk about making the geogrids green? No, it does not. But if you follow these steps, you'll make your geogrids green. It literally goes through everything. So that's the book. Then I have an Excel sheet I want you guys to download. This Excel sheet right here is my checklist. This checklist is going to be your Bible when it comes to doing on-page or technical SEO. We start everything from the foundation, user experience, performance, technical SEO, content. Literally, I go through here and tell you everything I use. Uptime robot. How do I check for this? It's manual. Because I do, if you've ever seen some of my audits, which everybody usually loves, I don't just do an audit based on a software. A lot of guys go, oh, I'll do an audit, and they just spit out some software like an amateur and just use just the software. I'll do that only for someone that says, hey, I'm interested in audit. But once they actually, I know they're really interested, especially in my live audits, I'll do them based on manual. So I'll literally go through here and manually check everything and make sure it's all done. We're going to be doing that together. Then we go into off-page SEO, local SEO, and another thing I'll be covering a little bit is turning those geogrids from red to green, a little bit of click-through rate manipulation, stuff like that. But this is the spreadsheet. That's one of the many that you'll need. You need to download that one as well. Then for those of you that know nothing about SEO, this is going to be good for you as well. We go through SEO terms. What's AdWords? What's algorithm? What's an alt tag? What's analytics? What's anchor text? What's a backlink? What's black hat SEO? Even though I may disagree with this term, this is what most people say it is, which is an unethical, underhanded search engine optimization tactics. I just think, you know, how do you make shit happen? And that's what black hat SEO is, but that's just me. What's a blog? What's bounce rate? Bounce rate is very important, especially when dealing with click-through rate manipulation. What's a CSS? You're not really going to have to know a whole lot of that unless you're obviously building a site, trying to change some things. Cloaking is specifically a black hat technique. We won't be going over any of that. Basically, this spreadsheet just goes through some basics like meta tags, which page rank, what's ranking, what's a query, what's robot text, very important. What's a search engine, what's search engine marketing, what is SEO. Speaking of which, since we have a lot of business owners, I know most of my agencies actually understand this, at least in my experience. What do the business owners and even agencies, what do you think SEO is? And can you unmute yourself and tell me what you think SEO is? What do you think SEO is?
Search engine optimization.
Okay. What is search
It's making
engine?
you, it's basically, I have a weird niche of a company, but you basically, everyone picks up their phone. What do? Oh, what's this? What's that? How do I get this? How do I get that? Everyone picks up their phone and they search on Google.
Yep.
So you want to show up on Google. You want to be there. You want to be, up there. You want to be number one, but 2 or 3 wouldn't be bad either.
Yeah. Number 1 is good, but generally in my personal experience, when you're in top 3, you're going to be getting at least 60+% of all traffic, but then again, a lot of people will only want GMB SEO, but I always do GMB and web design SEO or website SEO, traditional SEO, because I would rather be on the top 3 and on page 1, because then I can be seen more often. And on top of it, if you do SEO properly, you should be on organic as well as GMB rankings. But go ahead. Anybody else? What's SEO?
I would say optimizing your brand or your website to rank higher.
Awesome.
And be found on the search engines.
That's what in my opinion, though, a lot of people, for example, they think SEO. For me, SEO is simply that. It's just branding, really. If you think of most brands, that's all it is. They're just getting their name out there. And that way, when someone searches for, let's say, the best shoes, they find Nike or Adidas or whatever instead of the competition. But it's a good answer. Anybody else?
It's optimizing your website or parasites to basically show up for different keywords on different search engines such as Google, Yahoo, Bing. Basically, there's off-page optimization as well as on-page optimization, and also social signal factors as well.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that. It's like when your social footprint's larger and your social signals is one of the largest factors, especially in GMB and ranking in general. So it's good to hear that. Anybody else? Especially business owners. I'd love to hear from you. Will we be learning, sorry, let me answer that real quick. Will we be learning black hat, white hat SEO, or both? A majority of everything you're going to hear in this is going to be, quote unquote, in my humble opinion, it's just white hat SEO. It's basically step 1, step 2, step 3. It's how to basically optimize everything. But then again, if you ask me if I believe there's such a thing as white hat SEO, I would tell you no, because white hat SEO, from my personal opinion, means you have no real strategy other than create good content and put it on your website. But that's from a purist point of view. Now, will we be going over black hat SEO? I will be touching a bit on CTR and some things that are considered black hat, but no, this class is not going to be specifically teaching black hat SEO. Because if you don't do it right, you will get yourself in trouble. And on top of getting yourself in trouble, you can get your site penalized, and you don't want to do that. And I would think most people in this session, from what I've seen, don't have enough experience to even be touching black hat SEO. And most of you will probably just need to surely be doing white hat SEO. Learn the baby steps first, and then you can talk more about advanced stuff. But we're going to go from some of the baby steps all the way to some of the mid and then a little bit of advanced. So, but that answered the question. And anybody else on what is SEO? Just looking for opinions. No opinion is wrong. I just want to hear from you.
Is it outranking your competition?
Mm-hmm. It's the easiest answer.
For the business owners out there, there is no white hat SEO. I mean, basically, SEO is really kind of about manipulation, because you're basically, if you buy a directory link, you're paying for a link, and that violates Google's terms of service. You're not allowed to pay for links.
Correct.
So everything that we do for the most part as SEOs is, manipulate rankings so that you show up higher. So there really is no white hat specifically.
Correct. And that's my take on it too. That's always been my take. I had a guy ask in the group, he mentioned the other day, and I've heard this go both ways. To those of you that have more experience in this, I guess, or even have at least some experience as an agency, you've probably heard this, that Google AdWords is not a ranking factor. Paid ads is not a ranking factor, because there are some people that will say, yes, it is. There's some people say, no, it is not. I'm one of those people that will tell you it is not if you don't use it right, because you can use it to affect your rankings and your click-through rates. And if you affect your click-through rates, then you can affect your rankings with it. But then again, but most people, when they're thinking of pay-per-click, does it affect their ads? They're thinking, hey, if I spend with Google, are they going to rank me higher? I have honestly seen it both ways. I've seen clients where I use Google pay-per-click and they rank higher. And I've seen it as soon as I drop their ad spend, they stop ranking as high. So I'm not going to tell you that for fact that, yes, if I just throw money at Google, they're going to rank me higher or not. But from personal experience, I can tell you is if you're doing it right, and depending on what URLs you're using, depending on what parasites and different things you're using, then you can rank higher. Are you sending your links to your CIDs? Are you sending them to your business site? Are you sending them to different things of that nature? Are you sending them to articles? Are you sending them PBNs? There's tons of different things that you can send it to versus just sending them to your website. So anybody else, what is SEO? But that's a great answer, Anthony.
I believe there is a wide SEO. I got the example of spending a lot of money for AdWords and doing absolutely nothing on SEO, not even meta tags, and the website show up very high because it was actually in Poland, Czech Republic, and Hungary. I helped my brother set up the AdWords, and there is AdWords very cheap. So he paying 10 cents per click, and he buying about 10,000 clicks per day.
That's nice.
So there is like 10,000 searches for his company name because he advertising in AdWords for 10 years. So he did absolutely nothing for SEO. And for a Czech Republic in Hungary, where there's less competitors in Poland, he's on #1 everywhere, and we never even set up the meta tags. Right? So there is a very big connection about the AdWords. Of course, if it's some small business in United States, it's not gonna work. We're talking about if you got niche where you're spending a lot of money for AdWords, and this way your name is known and really known, then it's helping SEO, and really helping, because not only people was typing his company name, but the people, he got absolutely a lot of real links, like the people was sharing his website because somebody on the forum asked, because he doing the curtains, he showing the curtains and drapes. So the people sharing his products, absolutely natural. So there is something like a wide SEO for I can say.
All right. Yeah, it's good. Anybody else? All right. Nobody else. We're going to move on. Okay. All right. Let me make sure we're still sharing our screen here. Nope. All right. So we're going to go over back to sharing our screen. Excuse me. So SEO terms, then we're going to go through the next steps. Download the ebook. If you do not have it, download it. Download the checklist. All right. And this right here is going to be our timeline for the first part of really what we're going to do in this is going to go through our timeline. We're going to start with your local listing set up just on your GMB. All right. For Google My Business, we'll start there. Your Bing, your Yahoo, right? Business name, your map, your address. Are you using photos? A lot of people will talk about photos all the time. Are they geo tagged? And there are so many people that will say, no, it doesn't work. And if you've been involved in the SEO community, and others will say, yes, it works. One thing you'll learn about me, and I'll tell this to you over and over and over again, I'm not the type of person that's going to tell you just do something. Well, if you want to know if it works, try using it. You know, you can listen to other people that say it doesn't work. I can tell you there are instances where I've ranked stuff just with geotagging alone and using images alone and latitude, longitude, and stuffing them with keywords. So, but then again, I've seen other times it doesn't work. So, so let's move on. Are you using videos? Do you have those videos optimized? What I mean by optimizing a video, are you optimizing the title, the description? Do you have a link over to your, do you have a link over to your website or the page or your CID or GMB, whatever you're trying to send it to? Okay. Do you have your contact info in there, your phone number, your address, your email address? How optimized is your GMB? Do you have one category chosen? Do you have multiple categories chosen? We are going to be going over a tool that I'm partnered with also in this group called GMB Crush. And it literally shows you everything that your clients are doing. We're also going to be going through Local Falcon. There's also, Local Viking. I just don't use Local Viking, but it's very similar. Except Local Viking does many other things like posting to your GMBs and stuff like that. I don't use that. I have a VA, I have a team of VAs, and we just use that. It's much cheaper for me that way. But with that GMB Crush, it's going to tell you, for instance, how often are they posting? What are the categories they're using? What's the keywords they're using? What information is there versus what information is not there? That way we can, what we call, reverse engineer the listing. And we'll get into the terminology in a little bit. What keywords are being used in your GMB, what your hours of operation, validation means is you need to validate an audit. In other words, I want to make sure if my address is, 3233, that suite A, that it's not just showing up as 3233 with no suite. Okay. And that information is very important, which can be pulled from the data centers. And we need to make sure that that's all correct. So once we have those very basics done, which, believe it or not, most people do not have done. If I go to audit most people's GMB, I'm going to show you that they're missing quite a bit of information. Most people aren't posting. Most people don't have videos, things of that nature. Step 3, getting regular client reviews every month, because you'll hear a lot about that in a lot of the Google groups where we talk about that as well. You'll have review sellers, and people will say, hey, I'll sell you a review. We're going to talk about review gating because there are certain things that are against Google's terms of service. But then we're going to check to see if our competition is using spammy keyword stuffing methods and how do we deal with that. I have spreadsheets for that as well. Start by asking your customers for reviews from your database. If you're a brick and mortar company, most of the time you should have an email database. If you do not, you need to get one and start one up, newsletter, etc. I go over how to get, regular client reviews, stuff like that. Then what are citations? And there are different citations we need to use in Canada, different ones in the UK, different one in the States, different ones for all over the world. And then not only getting your NAPs in what I call tier 1 citations, then we have tier 2 citations. Okay, tier 2 citations are not as important, but to me, they're still, let's do them, it can't hurt you is what my point is. Add your NAP to industry directories. In other words, not only put a NAP as your name, address, phone number into a citation being, for example, think of it as a directory like the Yellow Pages, right? Where someone sees your business name, they see your phone number, they see your website, they see basic information about you. And this is what a citation is. So we always want to make sure that our information is correct. And that's why we audit them. Not only that, but now we need to get there are certain industries, let's say roofers, or let's say fence installers, or, some industries have very specific niche, is what we call them, niche or industry directories. So we want to make sure that if we're in a specific niche, if there's a directory regarding that niche, we'll make an Excel spreadsheet of that directory. Let's say maybe 10 or 20 of them, and we're going to try our best to get our information in those directories because we want people to know about us that are in those specific niches. Okay. What is pillar content? We're going to go over that. Pillar contents, what are each of your services? What are your products you sell? Pillar contents, think of it like building a house. All this stuff up here is basically your foundation. And then your pillars is what's going to hold your house up. It's what supports everything. It's what's going to support your rankings. For instance, if you are a plumber in sunny California or whatever county you're in, you're going to want your content to be about each service that you offer, regarding plumbing, busted pipes, pipe repair, plumbing repair, all that stuff. And then underneath all of your pillar content or your services, you're going to have sub pages. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over how to set this up and how to do what we call siloing your content into each of those, how to create facts, answers, questions, regarding each of those pages. We're going to go over all that. Do you have long form pages, a minimum of 500 words each? Most websites do not. When I go to audit a site on content, most sites don't have at least 500 words of content. I could tell you the hardest thing about content, though, is not going to be just simply having it. It's going to be actually either you writing it yourself or finding someone to write it for you. There is an awesome website I know of that does write content. The cost, though, is 5 cents per word, and then they will even optimize it for you regarding SEO. Is it going to be for an article? Is it going to be for a web page? You tell them all that and they'll write it accordingly with your business information, with your location and mentioned in there, your phone numbers, et cetera, et cetera. But this part right here, only you're probably going to know a whole lot about. It's like questions people ask regarding plumbing. I'm not a plumber. I'm not going to be able to tell you nothing about plumbing, really. You ask me about SEO and I could pretty much talk all day long. Then we're going to go through optimizing each page of your website. There's technical SEO, which has to do with making sure your foundation's right on your website SEO. We're going to go through every one of these and we're going to do this in hand together. Okay, which could be, what's your target keyword for each page? What's your meta tags? What's your meta descriptions? writing your meta tags and descriptions, what plugins to use. The two that I prefer, you'll hear me mention a lot, it's either going to be Rank Math or is going to be Yoast, preferably Yoast or Rank Math. There are others, and we can use those too. How many external backlinks do you have? I'm going to show you the tools that I use. We have Hrefs, and then I also have all-in-one Power Suite. And how do I look up all this information? How do I find out where my competition's backlinks are? Then we're going to make a spreadsheet together. During this class, you're going to have lots and lots of homework. It's basically you're having me walk you through this, hold you by the hand. You can ask me questions like I've told you before. Just email me. You know, I've given you my email address. It's also in Start Here. Any questions you may have regarding this, okay? Step 10, have you added all your Google properties? Do you have Google Analytics? Do you have Google Search Console? Do you have an XML sitemap? Have you submitted that sitemap to your Search Console? Do you have robot text? Do you have no index in the do follow? Okay. How fast is your website loading? You know, and I'm going to show you the tool we use for that. I can guarantee you most of the time, most people's websites are not loading fast. I personally believe with the changes I know that are coming in 2021 and regarding mobile and page speed, that this is very important. Run a page speed test. Google now uses Lighthouse, and GT Metrics, who we use, is already using Lighthouse. So we're going to show you this test. I will personally show you who I'm using to do my page speed optimization. I do not do my page speed optimization, nor do I think it's effective to do it yourself, especially if you're going to learn some of the things I'm going to talk to you about. Because a lot of people think, let me just use this plugin, WordPress, you know, WordPress Rocket, or, you know, Smush and all these other ones. Well, what happens with, I mean, we're going to go over this, but what happens when you try to do this and just slap a couple of plugins in there, generally that website's going to crash. If you don't believe me, ask anybody that does it or has tried it, and you'll find out very quickly it will crash, especially when you start compressing your CSS and JavaScript and code. Is your website mobile friendly? We're going to use Google Mobile Friendly test. If it's not mobile friendly, then it needs to be redesigned or fixed. Is your website secure? Do you have SSL? Are you using WordPress? Do you use backups? If you're an agency and you're not using a cPanel on each and every one of your websites, you need to, because God forbid you get a virus and you not have all of them on there in cPanel, it will infect every single one of them. And if you don't think it will happen, I've had it happen to me one time, and that's all it takes for you to learn your lesson. Step 14, do you have a blog set up? Are you blogging at least once a week? You know, are you getting ideas where to get them from? Quora, Flutter, Answer, YouTube, Ubersuggest articles. So we're going to go over all that. Creating a content plan. What to blog about, of course, newsletters. My friend Jeff here, he's my mentor as well. He has dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of newsletters. And he has how-to guides. You get best of lists. People love this stuff because it's very good to share. Google loves it because they pick up infographics, us versus them type articles. Trend setting, because trends can be picked up by Google. Is your content that you're creating SEO optimized? Writing headlines, summaries. Are you using anchor text in your summaries? Are you using videos, if you have any, on each page? Then are you using videos throughout? There's a friend of mine named James on my friends list, Jernigan, and that's all he does really is video SEO. I'm going to try and see if we can get him on here. Besides him, I have some other people lined up. If you're not using videos, you do realize that YouTube is owned by Google and is the second largest search engine. And so many tools out there available to make videos right now. It's easy to do. And then you also have people that I could refer you to make videos. Doodles. Are you doing an interview style? Like, if you're in the plumbing industry, you could interview a house owner, housing owners, real estate, all types of different things you can do. Slideshows. Are you doing screen captures? Do your titles have keywords, descriptions? Do you have your link in them? This is just the basics. This is what we're going to go over. Most people are like, why are you doing it in 90 days? Because this is a crap ton of information to go through step by step by step. And every day, like tomorrow, when you come in here, you're going to see more information shared and dropped in here, more spreadsheets, everything. I have all my spreadsheets in my files and everything that I use for every single one of my clients. And if you followed me for a while, you know that I turn these red grids to green grids and I get rankings and results. Some industries are going to take longer than others, of course, but the average in a non-competitive niche can go from anywhere from a few months. If it's more competitive, it gets about 6 months, and super competitive, let's say real estate, locksmith, stuff like that could take up to a year, depending on what methodologies you use. But this is the outline. So I want you guys to come in here, go to start here, make sure you get all this, join the group, download the book, download the spreadsheets, go through the SEO terms, print this out, go to the next steps, print that out, download the ebook, download the checklist. If you have read my ebook, make sure you go to Amazon and write a review on it, because it is on Amazon, and I would greatly appreciate that from you guys. That'd be awesome. And then print out the GMB SEO timeline. We are not just going to be going over GMB SEO. We're also going to be going over website SEO. Think of this as, it's basically, you're going to get a 2-punch. You're going to get your GMB SEO, then we're going to get our website SEO. We're going to knock them both out, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So as you complete each thing, mark each as complete. And then every day, like this video, once we're done, is going to be uploaded here. So you could always go and replay it. You guys that have joined have access to all the replays or any questions, answers that we'll put in here. If you have any questions, email me at filamrush@gmail.com. That is my personal email, so you guys can get a hold of me at any time. Are there any questions? Just go ahead and let me know. I'm going to unmute everybody. That way y'all could go ahead and ask any questions you may have. Raise your hand if you have any questions. Otherwise, this session is actually over for the day.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So I was a little confused on the timeline. So you said 90 days. So is it every what?
Okay, I understand. So what I mean by 90 days, it takes me about 3 months to get rankings. So what we're going to be doing is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to have a session together, and we're going to go over something that I do on a daily basis. It's like step 1. What's the very first thing I do? Step 2 is day 2. Step 3 is day 3, etc. And we're going to have, you'll have at least at minimum, we're going to have at least at minimum 5 videos a week, 5 days of homework a week, and go from there.
5 days a week.
Yep, 5 days. So it's 5 days a week, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day. I am considering another time slot. Considering that, it's still going to be the same information that we're going to go over, on a second time slot for different people in different parts of the world. Because I know there's quite a few people that are in the UK and some in Australia, and like our brother here in Africa, in Canada. So I need to hear back from each of you though to see if there's enough people to justify doing a second time slot, because the majority of our people in here, a lot of them are from the US, therefore, and it makes it easier for everybody. So it's actually my morning time. So, but yeah, any other questions?
I got a question, William.
Yes, sir.
How do we make the geogrids turn green?
Everybody loves those. I have people say, I'm not interested in showing geogrids. I only want to show Google Search Console. And it's like, well, I would love to just show Google Search Console too, but all these people love the geogrids because they're visual and they know red is bad, green is good. So we will be going over a little bit of that. If you absolutely only want to know about geogrids, then please just email me and we'll go over that as well. I am going to do a separate course, but I can't do too many things at one time, because if you ask my friend Jeff, he'll tell you I do too many things at one time already. But we are going to be having another course that's specifically advanced, and it's going over click-through rate manipulation, which is pure black hat SEO, how to set up your own click-through rate network, et cetera, et cetera. Probably, and if you've ever heard of them, some of you may, Dr. X, he will be interviewed, and I will be interviewing him. We'll be going over some stuff. And then I know some of you probably also know him, and you'll see this coming up in the next few weeks too. Craig Campbell, he's a big hitter in the SEO world too, and I will be interviewing him, and it will be on the back end in Access. So
what tool are you using for the CTR manipulation? CTR Booster?
I use CTR Booster. I have a VPN. Then I also have micro workers as well, and I use my own network.
Got it. Okay.
So I use quite a bit of different methodologies. Some of them work better than others. Some of them are obviously more expensive, and some of them are harder. I also do ads for CTR methodology, because most people don't realize you can take your CID and you can take your GMB and link to those as well. Although I don't ever use ads to link directly to a business. When your GMB business site, I use it to link to your CID, and there's some other things that we can do.
You mentioned something about EMDs for the geogrids. What can you touch on that real quick?
I could talk about it if you want to email me and shoot over the question, we'll go over that. But I'll make sure I cover, since there's enough, obviously there's enough people wanting to know about the CTR. I'll make sure that we cover it.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, William.
Yes, sir. And who's this?
I'm just Crazy.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, sir. Are you going to show us how to set up our own VPNs and own networks and all that?
Yeah, the VPNs and stuff. Are you specifically talking about the click-through rate manipulation, or in your because I'm about to say in your case you're in South Africa like me, I'm in the Philippines, and we constantly have to use VPSs and VPNs, otherwise you get in trouble.
All right, cool.
Yes, I'll be going over that with the other CTR stuff. We'll have an event, like I said, I'm going to go over some of the stuff for the CTR, and we'll do that later on in the class. But for now, we're going to be sticking with basics. But make sure you email me, any of you that are interested in the CTR methodology, and email me specifically what you're wanting to learn from it. That way I make sure I cover it, because my plan is to obviously stick with the basics, because most people in this class are not going to know it, but I also want to give y'all some good value and things that I use that help me turn things from red to green on my GeoGrids.
Yeah, William, I had a question. Can you talk a little bit about NAP citations for service-based businesses? In my example, I don't have a storefront, but I want to make sure I'm still optimized for the local area. And when I put in a NAP citation, I'm assuming for name, address, and the phone number consistency, I still submitting my actual.
Yeah, you're still submitting. And I have two different methods for this and two things that I believe that will work. But first off, you're still going to be submitting your phone name, phone address, website, all that stuff. You still submit service areas where you're going to be service areaing. The other things that I do that we will be covering as well is I create location pages. Then I create, depending on this type of service, or for example, let's say if it was a mover, because I'm big with movers, I have lots of my own clients, my own assets, stuff like that. But what happens is with movers specifically, you can go, all right, let's create location pages, or moving from, let's say, Tampa, Florida to Chicago, Illinois. And then I go, why should I move to Chicago? What things are there to do in Chicago? What are some of the, landmarks in Chicago? If you've ever, and I'll go over this, but if you've ever done a Google search, let's say things to do in Chicago, you'll see Google pulls up articles and things to do, places to go, some of the top let's say landmarks. And then I'll take that information and put it on my location page. Why? Is because I'm trying to pull in proximity signals. And I'll have some people say, well, does it work? But all I know is that's what I do when clients want it. And when we do that, it does work. So all I can go by is what works for me. Some people will say, flat out stuff doesn't work. But my answer is always, well, have you tried it? And if not, but when you're in your service area, in my opinion, you'll have people say, well, you're a service related industry, therefore, according to Google's terms of services, you're not supposed to have an address. Yes, you're absolutely right. Do you have a building? If you have a building in the area, I would still get my GMB and I would still put my address on it, unless it's my home address. I would still use it. And then there are other things you can do that are specifically, if you will, gray hat, black hat, such as pin dropping and some other things that will help expand your service area. So instead of just being, let's say you're ranked in the top 3 and 2 miles, and I want to be ranked in the, let's say 5 to 10 miles, then I start doing pin droppings and some other things that will help get you ranked. Also on those service area pages, we'll go over some stuff as well, such as you have the location pages. Then I create I take the GMB map, put obviously for that specific location, put those in there, put nearby me, reviews, all types of stuff, fact questions, all that stuff in those for your service areas to help spread your reach as well, and your neighborhoods. So for instance, what state are you in, or city?
Michigan.
So Michigan.
Yeah,
So for example, in Rochester, I can guarantee there's very specific. If I look up on Google right now and go, what neighborhoods are in Rochester, it's going to tell me all the neighborhoods. So on my service area pages, not only do I say, okay, I serve Rochester, then the very bottom, you're going to see where I have all the neighborhoods listed, and they all have Gmaps linked to every one of their neighborhoods. I do not do none of this with a plugin. It is all done manually. And people will tell me time and again, well, just use a plugin. And I can tell you that I've tried the plugins, and every time I try them, they usually give me 404s and they break easy. And then on top of it, I don't get the SEO results I want. Therefore, I don't use them. So, but we'll cover all that, service area locations and, NAP consistency and stuff like that. Any other questions? No question. Yeah. Hey, Andy.
Hi, I've got a question. I've got 2 small food stalls, and they're operating out of the same location. And that's the same postcode that we have in the UK. It's the same address, and I'm using the same phone number. Is this going to cause me problems with citations?
It will cause you problems with citations. It will cause you problems with your GMB. In my opinion, and from experience, I would set up and it's going to be hard because both of them are in your same address. You're going to have, if you're going to use the GMB, you're going to have either, I'll tell you my experience and what I've done. Okay. So and this is not in your niche either. So I actually have one in your niche. So in your niche, it was Havana Jack's. We had a food restaurant, and then we had a bar. all in the same building, all at the same address. The only thing we had to do is we put one is suite A, one is suite B, and then we had separate phone numbers, so separate websites. And it's also registered as a separate business with in the States with your business directories and the Better Business Bureau. And obviously we took that information, then put it across all the different niches, citations, and directories. And then when we submitted that information to Google, they would accept it because it's already out there with the Better Business Bureau and the other data centers as well. But that's, if it was me, that's how I would have to do it. And, you know, I've even seen some, though, they still put the suite A and B and Google still not recognize it. But every time I've put the information out first with the data centers, Better Business Bureau, and some of these bigger, if you will, NAP locations, then they accept it much better. Because think of Google GMB as mainly, it's like in the States, you have credit, right? And the only way someone's going to give you credit for something is if they know you exist, they see your business information. If they go to look you up in the credit, and try to give you credit, they're not going to give it to you if they don't say, okay, Andy has good credit history and I see the history. And yes, Andy lives at this address and here's Andy's phone number. If they don't see that information, then they're not going to give it to you. So I always tell people, in my opinion, before even trying to do your GMB NAP, to do the others first, is my opinion. The data aggregators and the citations and Better Business Bureau.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
I could seriously ask you questions all night long, but does it help to send links to the GMB business site, the free one?
Yes.
Thanks.
I have a question. You mentioned about content.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for a place that you said that offered content for that you could get people to write it for you.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Pull it up. Content Hero. It is SEOcontenthero.com.
Okay.
And I also have, I actually, believe it or not, I have some clients on here too, but I now have access to, how many of you have ever heard of Quantum Newswire? So Quantum Newswire, they write you can submit your own press releases. Then they also have content writers. I actually have a content writer from Quantum Presswire now as well that works with me. And he just started, probably 4 days ago, because the hardest thing for content is content writing. Good content costs a lot of money. And I just, and to find a good content writer that still makes it affordable, especially at the prices that I offer to my agencies and business owners, I have to find someone that's pretty cheap. And, it's basically with SEO Content Hero, it's $8 for 100 words. So, and that's very reasonable. And I've sent some of the content over to one of the agencies once he wrote it, and he was extremely pleased with it. In my opinion, then they have one that's basically 5-star content, and that's $12 for 100 words. And
Can I share a resource?
Yeah, and let me share this on my screen real quick. Okay. So it's SEO Content Hero, and this is a good place to order content from.
Okay,
And
I'm not used to heard of them.
I always usually order it with this or this. And for example, they can write ebooks. They can do pretty much everything. They need an outline pretty much. But for, let's say, the average article, let's say if you did about 500 words, which I tell people more like about 800 it's $40. So if you had 10 pages, you're talking $400 for content, a little over 400. What I try to get people to do when it comes to blogging is about 250 words of content a month. Just the content alone is this price. That's why I have to do a lot of the stuff I do in-house when it comes to blogging. And then some of my agencies will supply us with content. So, but this is who I personally use is SEO. They've been the best thing. And I've only been using them for about a week. Up till then I had my own content writers.
Can I volunteer another source?
I would love another source.
Okay. Go to SEOoutsource.com.
SEO outsource.
And then in the menu, click services and you'll see content.
Uh-huh.
And I'll let you take it from there.
Any other question, guys? But if any of y'all have resources that you want to share with the team, then let me know, email it over to me, and we'll definitely put it in the back end as well if you want, or we'll just share it live or whatever you wish. Some people don't want to share their, Yeah. So,
I've had some really good articles come out of here.
Yes, hi, William.
Yes, sir.
So you spoke about citations. Do you have any references, if you don't mind?
Yep, we're going to be going over all of that. Most of your clients are, I'm going to assume, abroad, UK, Australia, and US, and then I have all the citation spreadsheets, and I'll be uploading all of that as we go through the class.
All right.
Another quick question. How do you get the like MapQuest if you don't have Yext? You were going to make a video on that.
Yep, we're going to go through all of it, every last bit of it. If you have like I said, if you have a specific question or specific thing, just email over to me. And if you've asked for it before, please forgive me. Most people don't realize how busy I am, but I do, besides SEO, have 80 clients, and then try to be as active as I can in the group, but sometimes things slip because of the notifications. But if you need something, my to-do list really is my inbox on my email. If you send that over to me, then what I'll do is I'll make sure I make you a personal video of it and some instructions, and then as well as answer you back and drop it in on the back end for everybody else's use as well.
So William, we have class for an hour every day for 90 days. Is that right?
Yeah, and I don't want to say it's just an hour. It's like today we go over an hour because I want to always have question and answers too, and I tell people this, and maybe this is just my life experience. I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. Every job I've had in the past, the reason why I'm able to get to where I've been, I've looked at even jobs as they are stepping stones, and I learn from everybody. My mentor, which is on here, Jeff, I learn from him. I literally have a phone call with him once, twice a week, every week. And we just talk about, A, life, and then B, stuff. So if you have any, like I said, if you have just, resources, anything, let me know. But the question and answers, we're at least going to do 15, 20 minutes every session, 5 days a week. The classes will be an hour. The Q&As, we'll keep it around 15, 20 minutes or so. But even that being said, if we can't cover it, email me, message me on Facebook, even though they took it down. If you don't have me on Facebook, let me know, hey, what's your Facebook? And I'll send it to you. Because right now I'm in the process of rebuilding up my Facebook, because you cannot, if you've ever been disabled, you cannot just go gun-ho, guns blazing, and just let me add 3,000 more people back in, because you'll get quickly banned again. So I kind of got to go slow and steady with that end of it.
William?
Yes, sir.
What will we be going over tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to start, literally, I have the client that I'm going to be working with. I'm going to be showing y'all. And the very first thing I'm going to do is audit his website. And we're going to say, okay, what's wrong with it? And then we'll make a list of all that. I'll show you the softwares I use. And then on top of it, and then I'll also show my agencies on here, really cool software that I use to spit out, audits very fast, because I'm here trying to help the agencies as well. And then on top of it, after we do that, depending on how much time, we'll either cover GMB audit the same day or the next day. The GMB audit's totally different than a website audit. A GMB audit, I can generally do, I could probably cover it tomorrow as well, because it doesn't take as long, especially with the new tool that I have, the GMB Crush. It literally, I can audit someone's website in reverse, what I call reverse engineering. I look at SEO as a reverse engineering process. I go, what is my competition doing to be number one? And I'm going to do the same thing. That's all. I mean, if you really want to break down my SEO process, I go, who's your top 5 competitors? I find out who they're backlinking, what's their website like, what do they have that I don't have, what are their niches, what are their categories, I want to know everything about them, and I don't duplicate it, but I at least try to mimic it. And I reverse engineer everything, and generally, within 3 months, you can be ranked and outranking them. So that being said, let's see. All right, any other questions, Brad?
William, I just had one quick question. A while back, you shared with me a Google local process map. You get a whole process flow. Are you using that flow, and is there an updated version? Or
I have not updated yet, but I need to update it. But yes, I still use that. Basically, it's really good for, okay, do you have it? You know how it went, but basically, do you have a GMB? Yes. Is it verified or not? Then, it literally told you where to go, what to do, and everything. But yeah, I'm gonna work on updating that, and then I'll get that into the group as well, because that, I remember I used to give that to everybody, but now it's just been mainly the bullet points and then the ebook and going from there. So
it was a nice tool.
So honestly, that tool, I mean, if you've ever printed it out, it's so tiny. It's best to see it on a big screen so you can zoom in, because there's so many steps. That's what most people don't realize with SEO. Once you start doing it, it's like, it's not just simply, most people, when they come to you with SEO, it's like, let me plant a tomato plant.
And they move on to the other couple.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's the next question?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
How important is the name of your niche?
You mean the name of your
business name?
Name of your business name? So now
exactly.
Now we get into, you'll have people that will tell you, do not keyword stuff, and do not put your city name or location name in your business name. I will tell you that is utter horse crap, because I could tell you that you can take a business. What's the name of your business, for instance?
My business is, I got it. I acquired it 2 years ago. I was a contractor for this company and many other companies in the same niche. So I kind of took what everyone was doing and kind of, used it to my abilities. And then I became a manager.
Okay.
And the only part of the business that I wasn't doing was exactly this, the SEO, the advertising. But the name is Tiny Locks. But I am and I know it's gonna make everyone scratch their head right now. No, that's the craziness, is that I am a head lice removal specialist. Head lice, anyone that has kids knows your kids get lice.
Yeah, I would have thought you were a locksmith based on that name.
Really? Exactly. So, but when I bought the company, there is another domain that she says, okay, we're going to keep this one for you. And it's called the Lice Fairies. So I think is it better just to start over at this point?
So what I personally, I'll give you my opinion on like business names and stuff. In your case, let's say your number one keyword is, I'm just taking a wild guess here, I'd have to look it up and obviously do the research, but let's say it's lice removal. And let's say you're in Tampa Bay. I would personally name my business, and most people won't like this, but I would just say Lice Removal Tampa. And they will tell, and they will tell you, oh, it's against Google's terms of service. Well, yeah, it's against Google's terms of service if your business name is not really Lice Removal Tampa Bay or Lice Removal Tampa, right? So what I would do is personally, I would have named my business for my business only, Tampa, obviously Lice Removal Tampa. I would have registered my LLC or my DBA that way. I would have put all my niches, all my tier 1 citations, tier 2 citations, everything in that. I would have bought an expired domain name, and we'll go over that. But correct, get the legal DBA exactly. And do that, and then buy an exact domain name match. And people will tell you that exact domain name match doesn't matter anymore. And I will once again tell you that is crap, because of the fact of the matter is, let me ask you this. If you ever looked up, let's say I'm not getting in politics, but let's say you look up terms like lock her up, when ex-President Trump was saying what he was saying about locking Hillary up, that damn site went for like 50 grand. 50 grand. Okay. And then there are other domain names you can look up, let's say Locksmith Tampa Bay and stuff like that. And when they're for sale, a lot of these will go for 2,000, 7,000. I had one at one point that went for close to 10 grand. Okay. In Jacksonville, Florida, because I found a niche that no one knew about and didn't understand. Because down in Jacksonville, Florida, we had an area basically where, for instance, we had Ponte Vedra Beach, Jacksonville Beach, and all this. And what most people didn't realize is all the beaches were called one thing in specific, and I won't go over that, but were called one area, and Jacksonville was considering renaming the entire area according to the original name. I bought that domain name. I flipped that domain name. So, but people will, what'll happen is if you get an exact domain name, Google sees it. If your business name is that, it'll rank higher. I've seen people with very little backlinks, with very little SEO, and the only thing they have is maybe a couple of citations, and then they have an exact domain name, and then they have the DBA or keyword stuffed into their actual business name, and they rank. And people are like, and they say, well, they're not supposed to be doing it. And I do have another Excel sheet. It will be in the group where it literally how to report people that are not abiding by Google's terms of service. In other words, if I have a competitor, especially in a spammy niche like locksmiths, and they're saying they're Locksmith Edmonton, and really their business name is John and Luke the Locksmith, they shouldn't be doing it, and I will report them. And there are a lot of people that
there's a major competitor in our niche and some of the other companies, because every company that I was a contractor for, I still have a good relationship with them. So if they get a client they can't cover, they refer to me. So, but there's this one company that they have their main name, their name website, but as far as Google My Business, like you can go through and they have like Los Angeles, because I'm in Orange County, but I cover I cover Los Angeles and Orange County. But you can look, and all the other real lice companies are ranked so far down, 15, 16, 20, because they have infiltrated like Los Angeles lice removal, West Side, lice removal, Pasadena lice removal.
If you can, send me your information via email, and I'll look at everything for you, and I'll we'll go over a lot of that in the class, but send me your information on email, and then we'll anybody else got a question, and then I'm going to go ahead and get off here because I got a lot of clients to deal with today, and phone numbers, stuff like that. So anybody else?
I have a general question.
Yes, sir.
In terms of getting a VA, who would you recommend from where to work with in terms of VA?
It depends on how many VAs you need. Are you just needing one VA? Are you needing, what's your budget? How many hours you need them? That sort of thing. I have a couple of people, if you email me, like it said, and you'll see it in the group at philmrush@gmail.com. I have a couple of VAs that work hourly. Then I have like I said, my mentor, he runs a BPO as well. BPO being, back office personnel. And I can hook you up with that as well. Most VAs, let's say, they do them in time slots or blocks of time. So if you need 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, and then they charge you accordingly. So all of my VAs personally, I hand pick them, hand train them, and then we all work together. So.
Okay. Another question I had was in terms of categories within the GMB, just a crazy question I'm throwing up there. If a GMB had, let's say, 10 categories, how likely is possible for that GMB to rank in the map pack for every single category?
I personally think you're going to confuse Google if you do that, just from experience, because and that's not how I do things, number one. Number two, number one, I would go, okay, who's your competition in your niche? And then I find out how many categories they are in. And then I try to rank for those categories. If you get in there and let's say, let me put 20 different categories, to me, it's going to be very confusing for them. And
yeah, the reason why I say it, for example, say if it's a wellness niche, so this business, they provide services like chiropractor, physiotherapy, massage therapy, acupuncture, homeopathy, naturopathy. And if they put in all of those services categories within their GMB, that's why I was asking what would be a possibility.
There's a different way I would have done it. And the only reason I say I know for a fact, especially in the health industry, about 5 to 6 years worth of my SEO comes from the health industry in Jacksonville, Florida. I have ranked a marijuana clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. It's the #1 marijuana clinic in Jacksonville. And on top of it, we outranked at the time. He has the pain clinic, primary care clinic, multi-specialty clinic, foot clinic, every division you can think of. And I was running for him when I was down there at least 20 plus websites for that one client. And we ranked every one of them, and we outranked the hospitals. And they had a million. So I know exactly how I would do it. Would not be separate categories on the same GMB. I use separate GMBs, separate websites, separate business names, everything. So.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Because this will be the last question, and then I need to get going. All right. Like I said, if you need anything, just email me. I'm going to put my email again in the chat, and it's also in the back end on the website. If any of y'all have any problems, let me know as well. Let me send this to everybody. And if you need to get me on WhatsApp, I'm putting that in there as well, and y'all can get me there. But you can also get me, and here's my new Facebook as well. Let me send y'all this, and it's all in the chat as well. That way, if y'all ever need to get a hold of me, you know where to find me, because you know how Facebook can be, but you can always get me on email or phone. Yep, and it is +63. Yes, sir. It's Andy was saying my area code for the Philippines is +63. Yep, because if you don't use that, you won't get a hold of me. So it's that number right there. But great session, guys. I appreciate it. If y'all have any questions, email them over to me, and I will get this video uploaded for y'all. And like I said, you have any specifics or anything you want to go over, email it over to me, and we'll take care of it. And y'all have a good night, good day. Appreciate it.
Thanks, William. Thank you, William.
Guys, have a good day.
Bye.